Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first official episode of Fate Check. I'm your host, Ian, and our co-host, Wesley. Let's check in with some fate. So, Wesley, what are we going to talk about today?
3Pay is probably going to come up once or twice.
Well, probably.
So, we're 20 days removed from when we get back from Vegas. You knocked it out of the park, I feel like, even though the event itself wasn't as big as we hoped it would be. I feel like, we've made some pretty good contacts, and some of the discussions that we've been having with people were just really fascinating. I'd love to be able to, just to get it out of the way, we can't say any names. And we,
for anyone listening,
to, but I
can't. Anyone listening, Wes had to say that specifically for me because I'm super excited and I want to tell everybody about what's been going on, but we don't have a concrete, we don't have anything set in 100%, set stone. So we don't want to give, we don't want to say something just for it to not fall through. But some of the people that we've been talking with, man, I want to say it.
I know, but what's important and the reason why we can't is because we have to build up our infrastructure more. We can't get some of these potentially game-changing people we have to get a dedicated server, a number of dedicated servers actually. We just need a better infrastructure to be able to handle more traffic. Right now, we can't handle the kind of traffic that some of these people that we're talking to, if they follow through on. We need to be ready for that. So, we're starting to prepare for that now, obviously. But we're definitely talking to the right people and having the right conversations.
And the conversations are going well because one of these people is actually coming out to Utah next week to go shooting with me. So I am super excited about that.
Not like you need any reason to get excited to shoot guns, but
I know, I don't. I really don't.
But it's really is. It's awesome. So let's just get that part out of the way, and then we can talk about more of what's what we've actually been doing, what's coming with 3Pay and different aspects of Fate, etc.
Well, and for anyone listening who doesn't know what 3Pay is, in a nutshell, in a few sentences, how would you describe 3Pay? What is 3Pay?
I would say 3Pay is in my mind, it's probably the best attempt at making crypto feel and work like money. The biggest challenge for onboarding people is the education, the learning curve involved with crypto, and just making it more relatable to money is job number one for 3Pay. And I think that's really where the focus needs to be on everything, is just trying to drive home that it's money, right? Forget calling it crypto, it's money kind of a deal. Yes, it's crypto in the technical sense, but we have to if we expect mainstream adoption and we want the world to switch to crypto as its currency, then we have to treat it as such.
No, and honestly, just like the social aspect of and the payment solution aspect of it, the ease of use of it, it's so, because we could really spend hours talking about the different sides of the utility of 3Pay. We're not going to do that to the listeners, but it's really, amazing.
Well, the social side of things is interesting, of course, but money is already a social interaction.
Yeah,
it always has been, right? Bartering and trading, that's a social interaction. So really, it just kind of makes a lot of sense. When we start building up the discovery engines and the recommendation engines, and when people start being able to buy products, like physical products, and have it shipped to their door, those are also going to be equally adding to this feeling that, okay, this is just money, right?
Well, and the social experiment side of it, like we talked about, how we have a random donation button where people can send, it's called Pay It Forward. You can send money to a random 3Pay user. And so that in itself is a social experiment of types.
Well, and we really want to drive that home with our 3-pay challenges and really challenge people to help each other out and to kind of, whether it's helping somebody grow a new channel, a new creator that needs subscribers and tips and things like that, or whether it's somebody that's looking for help and needs a meal or something to that effect. I mean, the goal is to set up these kind of social challenges and use these, rather than the Tide Pod challenge, for example, let's challenge people to help each other and do something useful and practical.
Something that can reinvigorate my hope in humanity. I would love to see a challenge like that.
I mean, wouldn't that be great? And I don't know what the response is going to be because the internet is full of when things go viral, a lot of times it's not for the right reasons, and I just feel like there needs to be something to offset that. There needs to be something. We need to try something, and what better way than payments and this kind of random pay it forward type of a feature.
And the fact that it's an embeddable link system. All these features we talked about are wrapped around an embeddable link system that people can, like I was at the Silicon Slopes convention yesterday, and people were, I'm networking, I'm talking with people, I'm sharing information. And I had someone scan my QR code and download my info to his phone directly through my 3-pay link,
which is awesome.
I know it's not only the sending and receiving of payments and the ease of use of payments, but also the sending and receiving of information, adding people to your contacts.
That's right.
All of it.
Yeah,
it's just great.
Yeah, it's all pretty confined in the simple to use product, which is really, it's pretty interesting. That I think what I think is interesting the most really is that we've been looking at crypto for Bitcoin was in 2009.
Yeah.
When did Ethereum launch? When did smart contracts?
I think it's like 2007, right?
2007.
Because it was Bitcoin, and then Ethereum came later. Yeah, Bitcoin came first. I don't remember the exact date, but Bitcoin came first. Ethereum came after that, and then through the development of smart contracts.
Here, let me just Google this real quick because Ethereum would have had to have come out past 2009 because Bitcoin came out in 2009, so ETH would have been founded July 2015. So ETH
well, even then,
the
ETH. Well, no. The ETH we know there was the first version, what's known as Ethereum Classic today. It was Ethereum Classic, and then I can't remember if it was a hard fork or it was something happened and they generated the new Ethereum, which is what we know as Ethereum today, and the old version is Ethereum Classic.
Well, I guess just to sum up the point, though, I mean, we're talking about 5 to 7 years that smart contracts have been on the scene, so to speak.
Yeah.
When I hit crypto, my first question was like, why is this still so difficult and clunky? Like from a UI perspective, just an ease of use perspective. I mean, users are used to using things like Google, which is one of the simplest things to use, and that's done intentionally. Crypto is just not set up that way at all. Like it's just filled with so many layers of complexity. And
if you think about what users had to do to onboard to crypto 5 years ago, we've definitely made a lot of strides. And even then, it still sucks for new crypto users. It's still horrible.
I mean, I wonder where all the developers are. I know there's developers out there, but like, what are they like? I'm just curious as to why things are still as clunky as they are. We know from Web 1 and Web 2 what users expect. This is not a mystery. So, I think that, I think we've got a unique solution in the marketplace, which is a good position to be in. We're making great connections. One thing I want you to talk about specifically, Nomad, you got to give us some tell us a little bit about what happened in Vegas, some people that you talked to, some people you met. What was interesting about the event?
Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, it was the TCG World convention, and it was great. I got to meet some amazing other projects. And it's great about our product in particular. I wasn't really necessarily stuck to our booth because of the way our system is set up. I can network by walking around the space, walking around the convention, sharing my link with people. We made these custom QR sticker name tags to where when people wanted my info, they would just scan my name tag and they could download my info to their phone, and it was great. And what we found was, because at that time, that was the real first day that we introduced 3Pay publicly. And we had an idea, we knew we had a solid product for being a beta product, right? We knew that we were onto something. We knew that this could help in a lot of different ways, but we've never really publicly tested it or publicly unveiled it. So we were just like, all right, let's see how this goes. And everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. They loved the concept. They loved the idea of what we were driving at, and they could see the potential in what we're doing. And we didn't even, just now kind of going over the brief synopsis of what we did of the different facets of 3Pay. We didn't even talk about all the other stuff, but we can get into that in a minute. But yeah, man, I wish I could tell people of who I met that we're still in talks with right now.
I mean, the community has been.
Can I drop a hint?
I don't think we need done.
Okay. I want to drop a hint.
we gotta make sure that we're ready. We don't want to be caught with our pants down, and we seriously, we gotta be ready. From a technological standpoint and from a marketing standpoint too. I think the more prepared that we are, the more polished we make this kind of announcement, it does happen.
Well, no,
the better we'll be.
It was so funny because I was being interviewed by someone, and their person interviewing me, their wife or partner started tooling around with 3Pay on their phone.
Yep.
And they look at me and they just go, "You can auto add RPCs with this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh my God, that is so helpful."
Yeah. I think there's a lot of little features hidden that are kind of, they're not super obvious, but when people really when they start to use them, they'll really appreciate how useful it is. Like I use 3Pay all the time to handle conversions. Just for conversions alone. Like I do for transactions too, but like if I want to know what something is worth in terms of dollars, 3Pay.
Oh man,
it's like literally my XE of crypto.
Oh yeah, my way of used to like finding out conversions was like I would go into like PooCoin or something like that, and I would say, okay, X coin, I need to swap this to this, but it doesn't show me like the actual number. It just shows me the coin. So then I would have to copy and paste that number, do the conversion into BUSD or USDC to see what the actual dollar amount would be, copy that number, go back to my original swap, and then do the swap if I needed to swap for a specific amount of money. But now with 3Pay, it does all that for me.
That's right. So you can just, and you don't even have to hit enter. You literally just punch the number.
You just use it for math. Yeah.
The calculator. Correct. Yeah. Really useful. But there's a lot of little features like that I feel like when people really, after they've figured everything out with it, they'll start to identify with it. And we have to do better at educating what those features are. And that academy is going to.
Many.
There's a few.
We didn't even talk about the demo e-commerce store coming out, the business side of it, we're working on a hardware solution, we're working on software solution, the EVM wallet side of it. There's a
lot of elements to a payment system.
Yeah.
Right? When you think about it, there's a lot of elements to a payment system. So these are definitely things that I think people will expect to be able to do. Whether they're doing it on their own websites or whether or not they're listing products in a common marketplace of sorts. If you're doing payments, people are going to want to be able to buy and sell stuff. It's kind of that simple. So, the store I think is going to be a great. It's going to be just a very interesting concept. Again, one of the biggest things with the store is that it's extremely important that this does not become a kind of a Silk Road type of a situation.
Oh, yeah.
We need to be hyper sensitive about the products that we list and the products that we promote. You
So
know,
yeah,
only
anyone listening, don't get excited. We are going to KYC. We're going to ask people to KYC. You're not going to be able to do any illicit trading on there, like no guns, drugs, and stuff like that. So don't build your hopes up.
It's got to be verified, right? I mean,
yeah, and I mean but to touch on this point, think about all these, brand ambassadors, or maybe you're a content creator and you have your own brand of clothing or mugs or whatever it is, or let's say you make your own jewelry or whatever. You could easily list these items for sale on our e-commerce store and accept crypto, and then these items, whether you're shipping them out yourself or you have a fulfillment center doing it for you, we can connect the API of the fulfillment center to our system so that they would get the notifications of when an item is purchased, and then they would be able to fulfill it. So, I mean, we've really made this super easy to onboard people to utilize crypto and all their, everything they do, whether it's personal, their small business, or whatever.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out too, especially when we kind of open it up to allow more events. Like, because right now we're working with just our partners, but the idea would be to open it up so that we could allow, anybody, as long as they're willing to verify in KYC and prove that they're a legitimate business with a legitimate product. We want to maximize the amount of inventory that's in the store, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's not even touching on the NFT side of all this too. Like we got man, and the banking side. Like, I know we're going to touch on a lot of little things here, and future episodes will definitely expand on a lot of these topics, but I mean, some of the stuff we've been talking about just on like the savings account side and stuff like that, being able to tax yourself, which when people hear that, they're like, oh, why would I want to tax myself? Whereas, like, well, soon you'll be able to essentially, if someone pays you or whatever, you'll be able to tax yourself and say, I want 5% of this money to go to a savings account, 5% to go to a medical fund I've made for myself, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's completely under your custodianship or your control. The contract it's a smart contract that's deployed under your ownership. There's no connection at all with 3Pay. We're just the author of the contract, but there's no fees, there's no anything. If you get a premium account, you'll have access to this feature, and it'll basically allow you to become your own, to set up your own bank and kind of do your own financial kind of maneuvering with your funds. And
financial planning at its finest. I mean,
yeah, the personal tokenomics of it, I really think is something that I personally can't wait to use. I know that this might be a little early for some people, but I really do think that the personal tokenomics and being able to tax yourself and have like your retirement fund, education funds, pensions, car fund, household funds, things like that.
Tax themselves. Think about it. 90% of people, I would hope, they have a list of all their bills.
Correct.
They have a list of, okay, so this is my overhead. This is this is how much I pay in rent. So much I pay in food. And if you don't do that, I really recommend you start doing it. Yeah. Well, no, and I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone has that to some degree, but if we have a smart contract where you can set up these systems automatically, where you can run, $1,000 through this taxing system, and it would automatically allocate funds into these different little mini savings accounts to do it for you. Sheesh, like that's awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the possibility of peer-to-peer loans.
Oh yeah.
So rather than asking people for money is always awkward, whether it's your friends or family or colleagues. I mean, this is something that always happens, yet it's always the same kind of a deal. It ruins relationships. It's just one of those kind of iffy things, right? So this allows for kind of I don't know if it'll work or not, but I feel like there's a chance that it'll kind of make it less awkward. So somebody can just go into your smart contract and follow your loan process, that's your terms and your interest rates that you set, they don't have to ask you personally necessarily. They just go interact with your smart contract. And they're only allowed to do that if they themselves have their own banking smart contract. Yeah. So it's the two banks that are actually working together. And then you are able to kind of collect some taxes off of their transactions until their loan is paid. Right?
No, and I think there's so much we can build out of that and make it a way of where people can do good on that side of it and make loaning money more of, not as embarrassing as you said, or not as awkward to talk about. And yeah, I think there's a lot we could do with that side of it for sure.
Yeah, and again, it's like I said, it comes back to the whole thing we were talking about with Pay It Forward, right? How can we challenge people to, to use these online tools that we have access to, these fantastic online tools that we have to collaborate and communicate and send money anywhere in the world. Like, we need to start focusing our energy on doing good with this. Like,
and speaking of doing good with this, one of the things that we are going to start doing through the 3Pay TikTok account. So if you're not following our TikTok account, it's at Crypto3Pay. One of the things we're going to start doing is actually live cash giveaways through the Pay It Forward system of 3Pay. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a 3Pay account, I would highly suggest signing up for one.
And then following 3Pay on TikTok.
Yeah, following 3Pay on TikTok, because we're going to be sending crypto to random users utilizing the Pay It Forward method. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be started shortly. And it's just another effort, another way that we're trying to normalize, doing good things. And because if we could start a trend of people using 3Pay for random donation systems, instead of, like you said, the Tide Pod challenge, I think we'd be doing the world a favor.
I think it's time that the internet grows up, right? Like, we're talking about crypto and $1 trillion markets and whatnot now. The internet has evolved, obviously. I think it's the content and how people use it needs to kind of catch up.
Who knows if the internet will ever grow up, but hopefully we can get people to start utilizing it more socially conscious. But where there is an internet, there will be a troll. Let me just say that.
I do have to be careful, because I've been known to suck the fun out of a lot of things, and I'm not trying to suck the fun out of the internet. Okay. I just feel like we got to be able to do better than we're doing now. That's all.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. And then, and hopefully, because we've talked about how 3Pay in general is kind of the precursor for what Frosting Social is going to be. And then maybe we could get into a whole other episode about what Frosting Social is. But the whole point of everything that I think that we're trying to accomplish is, and it's your favorite tagline, decentralize yourself.
Yeah. Reclaim your value and decentralize yourself. And that comes down to your intellectual property, your digital assets, your personal data, your metadata, your personal identity, and your money. Those three elements are the core of what we're building all of these utilities around, to help you take control of that and capture as much value from that as possible. Right? Again, I've said on multiple places at this point, we each pay about 22 cents a day to use Facebook. Meanwhile, Facebook is making 8 cents a day off of us. There's no reason we shouldn't be making some of that money, because they're making that money off of our property, off of our time, off of our value. So we should be compensated for that.
Oh, yeah.
And you're starting to see little tweaks in areas where that might be starting to happen a little bit, but they're not doing it right. Like they're still trying to hoard everything to themselves and just give crumbs just to keep people happy. And that's not.
Some of our listeners, some of our listeners are probably avid tweeters or Facebookers or Instagrammers, whatever. I mean, if you were to add up all the tweets you've ever tweeted and say you would get paid 8 cents per tweet, how much money do you think that would have been by now since you've started tweeting? You know,
Even if it was a penny.
Yeah, even if it was a penny. Yeah. And for something that you're doing for, quote unquote, for free, you're actually paying to tweet. But if you were able to, start getting paid pennies or even a penny per social engagement you do on one of these social platforms, it might make you rethink on how you how you use social media. And that's definitely another conversation we could get into.
Well, yeah, I mean, these episodes are obviously going to talk about more than 3Pay. We're going to talk about Authomark as far as intellectual property, digital assets are concerned, NFTs, things like that. We're going to talk about frosting, your personal identity, your metadata, your interests, your social side, and your money. And these again are the 3 core elements that we're building all of our utilities around. FiBuddy is just the hardware side of it, right? FiBuddy is just the decentralized hardware that kind of takes Authomark and frosting and 3Pay and gives it to you in a nice little package that kind of frees you from the dApp browser or from any of your wallets and just allows you to use any device, any browser to access and do all your Web3 transactions.
Well, I think that's actually a perfect spot to end. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with, or what they can expect in the future? Maybe like a little snippet.
I mean, not offhand. We've got so many different things that we're working on.
I know.
And I post updates so regularly. I try to keep people informed as to where we're at with everything. I just think without trying to lengthen the show even more, it's a good cutoff point because we have so much to talk about. I mean, we could talk about Frost, we could talk about Authomark, we could talk about FiBuddy, we could talk about in depth all the different smart contracts that are going to be running 3Pay and other aspects of the ecosystem. So there's lots of content that we have here, but we want to keep these shows like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So we're at 27. Yeah. So I think it's we'll cut her off for this one and get people to tune in next week.
Cool, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Thank you again for listening to the very first episode. And we're excited to see what comes. Thanks for tuning in to Fate Check, and I hope you check in again next week.
Take care, guys.
Bye.